that ghost pepper.
How's it? Welcome to the University of Arizona Salsa Challenge, where we separate the Wildcats from the Mildcats. We're here at Reforma, where they wined and dined us with great food, great drink, and even better salsa. And now we're kicking it up a notch, not only salsa-wise, but celebrity-wise right here. We got Mark Wystrach of Midland. Welcome to the program, brother.
Hey, my pleasure, Neil. How are you?
Brought your friend?
I did. It doesn't have a name, not like Willie's guitar.
All right.
I'm not that good of a guitar player. She doesn't deserve a name yet.
Well, we'll find out how good of a dipper you are. Just how big of a University of Arizona basketball fan are you?
Huge. I grew up watching, I was a Gumby guy. Do you know who the Gumbies were? This is under Lute Olson. So I came in as a wee lad when Lute Olson was coming into power. Right. And those were the Steve Kerr, Judd Bushler, Todd Tolbert, Ed Stokes, Sean Rooks, my brother-in-law, Kevin Flanagan, number 51. Shout out to Flanny.
There you go.
I was fortunate enough that my sister started dating a player. So I got to be in the locker room with my brother, got to hear Lute's pregame speeches and stuff like that. I went to Lute Olson basketball camp every summer with my brother. So there's a photo of me as a little tiny guy sitting on Lute's lap like he's Santa Claus.
Do you have triple threat position at camp there?
Yeah. I always flared my elbow out. I was a good athlete, but I was unconventional growing up in the middle of nowhere. I didn't have the best basketball coaches. Right. So Tommy tells me I still kick the right elbow out a little bit.
All right, let's flare something else up. Let's dip into these salsas here.
Right.
All right. The first one we're going to do is called salsa de la casa. All right, and make sure you go this one.
This one
and
first.
Not that one.
Are we going like mild to wild?
That's kind of
Okay.
that's a good way to put it. Not a lot of bite, but it's got a good little flavor to it. What's your mouth feeling right now?
Not much. It's kind of on cruise control right now.
Really?
It's really mellow. That's mellow. That's something like my kids would enjoy.
All right.
You're just tastes fresh.
There you
It's like it was just threw some tomatoes, some cilantro, some onions, some garlic, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, threw it in a blender. Bada bing, bada boom.
Are you to University of Arizona basketball what Matthew McConaughey is to University of Texas football?
Wow. More like Owen Wilson and Burt Reynolds. If you could have like a child, I think that would be me.
That would be you?
That would be my version of being an Arizona basketball fan.
Okay. Do we got that? Does that make sense? Smokey and the Bandit meets. Wow. I can't believe what you just put in your book.
Wow.
Favorite Matthew McConaughey movie?
Oh.
Remember, he won the Best Actor for Dallas Buyers Club.
I thought he was fantastic in that. I think he's fantastic in everything. There's a movie that he did called Mud.
Oh yeah.
That I absolutely loved. I thought that was his most raw, pure performance.
There's also a movie you did called Dazed and Confused, which is where we may end up by the end of this.
That was a huge imprint on me as a child because I was actually in 8th grade and my sister played that movie for me, and I was on my way to go to being a freshman. So, and it wasn't too far from that, to be honest with you. High school was kind of a little bit close.
All right, well let's
less bell bottoms though. It was the 90s, Neil.
Let's get a little dazed with number 2 here.
All right,
Mexicana is this one.
Did you guys crush these chips? You couldn't. These little tiny chips.
We've eaten this place out of chips. Okay.
This is like a classic, Neil. This is like a classic pico de gallo.
Yeah. Like very, very flavorful.
I'm sure you know.
What are you feeling?
Now, because that's sitting in some juice with some onions. The onions are really strong.
Yeah.
They've penetrated the tomatoes.
That was the first thing you felt?
Yeah. I like this. I would like to see them make this with a red onion.
Okay.
I'm a red onion guy.
We'll talk in the back afterwards. You got currently on the Last Resort tour, not the She Came from Providence, the one in Rhode Island. Not that Last Resort.
That's right.
Your own Last Resort. What's it like to be on the road as a traveling musician?
You know, one of my favorite quotes is by an artist named Merle Haggard. For you kids, if you've never heard of Merle Haggard, go home and shut the door for the next 3 weeks and come back out and then report back.
Google is your friend.
Merle Haggard said, "We get paid to travel and be away from our family, our friends, and all the niceties of home. But every night when we take stage, the music, we play for free." So it is a lot of killing time, I feel like. For me, exercise is crucial in the daytime.
You look horribly out of shape.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, you can be. So I've got some colleagues, I'm not going to name names, and back in the day, my heroes, I don't think they would have ever done a push-up. Right. Maybe a bar fight or two to stay in shape. So I stay in shape, I try to train, I try to eat right, so at night I can play music, drink beer and tequila, and wake up and rinse and repeat.
And eat chips and salsa as we move on to number 3.
That's right.
Salsa verde with an obvious guacamole hint from the color alone.
We're still really in the mild zone, aren't we?
We are. The first 3 is the mild zone, and then as you can see, the colors of the angry, angrier, and angriest are the next 3.
This is good. This is green chili, I imagine. This kind of reminds me a little bit of kind of eastern Arizona, western New Mexico, some like the hatch chilies and green chilies. I enjoy green chilies, but I'm a little bit more traditional Sonoran. I love the pico de gallos. I love the red salsas personally. The heat-wise, it's really mellow.
Yeah.
But it's a clean one.
Yeah.
As far as, do you call this is it tomatillo? Is that what it is?
Tomatillo
I think
sauce,
it is. Yeah. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's not my thing. It's all subjective. It's like music. You can't say what's good and what's bad in music. But with, taste, as you know, it's kind of subjective.
What makes a good song in your mind?
Well, it's kind of like making food or like making salsa. It's about the ingredients of it, right? Really what you have is, and it depends on how you write. Sometimes you can start with a hook, sometimes you come up with a concept, sometimes you just come up with a progression. But for me, it's pretty simple. It needs to come from the heart, lyrically. You need to be talking about something that means something to you. It needs to be accompanied by a great progression, which is the melody, right? That is essentially, that's all the sweets. That's the baking of it. That's cooking it in. That's really going to take those words and give it a vehicle to deliver to your ears in the melody. And then, I think the final thing is really kind of getting a great recording of it. When you write a song, it's kind of like preseason or starting practice when the team's first together. Yes, you're playing basketball, but it's not the beautiful game yet. It's kind of the same thing when you write a song and it's just a work tape, and very often it's just some guitars and some pretty rusty singing. And then when you go in the studio, now you've kind of been sitting with that song for a long time. And now you can go out and play that beautiful game, and you can get all the elements of the record together, and it makes this beautiful product that'll kind of last forever, which is a recorded song. So it's a pretty amazing thing to make something and have it kind of last forever, have it be in the ether, much like the last title that we won in '97.
Yeah, because you're gonna have a salsa problem, and we're gonna have a drinking problem
after
that. Did you know that song? Did you know that song was gonna be all it was when you put it in? As we reach into the salsa problem, this is Heirloom Habanero.
Oh, okay.
Habanero alone.
Habanero. Okay, that means we're getting into the wild zone here.
Yeah.
I remember it very distinctly. It was the first time I wrote with Mike Consigliere's, Josh Osborne, and Shane McAnally, two of the most talented songwriters and two of the best gentlemen I've ever met in my life, with my bandmates Cameron Duddy and Jess Carson. And that was the first song we ever wrote. It came really fast. It started with a conversation about the kind of music that we love, kind of where we were at. For me personally, I just was kind of living that life at that point. The archetype, the hero in that song felt a lot like me. So I was really able to relate to it and contribute. And we wrote that thing really fast. It kind of felt like it wrote itself. And I'll never forget writing that and doing the little work tape and stamping the session close. I called my mom, who turned me on to country music, who's the owner of our honky tonk, the Stakeout down in Sonoyta, where, you know, I got my country music and rock and roll education.
Cross promotion.
That's right. You got to promote. And I knew something was special about that song. And I remember calling my mom and telling her not to worry, that things were going to work out. I do remember that.
You might want
Hopefully
to
it works out after this bite too.
You might want to start worrying.
I should have looked at your face.
Yeah,
Are you in pain, Neil?
I'm not in pain, but I've been here a lot longer than you. I've been on stage all day.
Okay, immediate reaction, intuitive, I was like, okay, this is heating up. But it's mellow. It's got
It hits you and then it subsides.
Yes, it's
Right.
immediate little heat, and it kind of lets the alarm sensors go off, and you almost want to hit the panic button, but then like the waters recede a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's mellow.
And you think you're safe, but don't turn your back on the salsa.
It's very
Never turn your
it's
back
very
on salsa.
sweet.
Yeah.
It's very sweet.
Yeah.
Now, can I ask you this? Are you a salsa connoisseur?
No, but I do know that Tucson is the salsa capital of the world, and I'm of the world.
Is that official?
It is now.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. You mentioned Merle Haggard. Who's your starting five of musical influences? I'm not going Rushmore. I'm giving you
Right.
one extra space, and you can even go with a few guys on the bench if you want.
Yeah.
But who's your first five?
Well, it's an interesting question. It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
It's like the debates that you see about the greatest of all time.
Right.
Although I think that's pretty easy to say is Michael Jordan.
Right.
But
And you can even take eras if you want. If you want to go Hank Williams back
Yeah.
to that era, and then go to the Haggards and
I can
Nelsons.
keep it pretty
and,
quick, but
all
I do
right.
want to preface it with, people always ask me, what kind of music do I play? And yes, it can be classified as country, but when you study music like me and my bandmates have, and just complete audiophiles, I wake up in the morning and I put on music. In the daytime, I put on something different. I want to change my vibe. In the evening, I put on something. So there's always a soundtrack playing. And with that being said, my mother was my country influence, and my father was much more of a Motown R&B guy, and really kind of got me. I guess he was my hint into rock and roll. So when I go off right off the bat, my first album that my mom got me was Modern Sounds of Country Music, Ray Charles, who I think is genius, is probably an understatement for somebody like Ray. His ability to convey an emotion in a song is probably almost second to none.
Bit underappreciated, Ray Charles.
Yeah, I think he is. I think that he needs to be re-examined and put back up on a pedestal. Ray Charles is up there. On the countryside, it's hard not to put in Willie, Waylon, and Merle.
You almost put them in as one.
Yeah, almost.
Waylon and Willie and the boys.
Yeah. I mean, you could put the Highwaymen in there. Add Chris Christopherson in there as well. So maybe
Cash.
just say the Highwaymen and Johnny Cash, because all those guys
gives
in
you
there.
4-for-1 shot there.
And then I got to put in, Otis Redding. Otis Redding, I remember being a kid, and he was the first time when I heard "Sit on the Dock of the Bay." I think that was the first time I could hear a man's heart aching. A human being kind of suffering, and using the blues, using song as a soothsayer, and that's what it always has been for me. As I always say, it's there for the good times and there to lift you out of the bad times. So I'd have to put those guys in there, and then we'd probably have to finish it with the Beatles.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right. It's been a hard day's night for me. It's about to be a little.
Oh,
you're going to need a little help right here
I'm
as
gonna
we
buy
get
this man a drink.
as we get Arbol salsa. Yeah, this is
Okay.
number 5 on our list. Okay, we gave you the
What's the definition? What am I eating here, Neil?
Arbol salsa. That's
Arbol? That's it? That's it?
ARBOL.
Okay.
Listen, I was given sparse notes. Okay, we went with the musical starters. Give me your all-time University of Arizona basketball starting 5.
Oh man.
I mean, you went way back to the Gumby group with Kerr and
I was
that group.
thinking about this today. I think probably the most complete player we ever had, and a player that was really responsible for putting the University of Arizona on the national map would have to be Sean Elliott, number 32. Tucson homeboy, born and raised here. And, adding him and Steve Kerr together, to me, those guys are kind of the kings, the guys that open up the floodgates for Arizona basketball.
Right.
And I've got to go back to some of my favorite players, maybe that people may or may not remember, but a guy that's still a friend of mine and who I still think had one of the greatest all-around physical games was Reggie Geary, number 44, who played with my brother-in-law. A guy that absolutely blew me away with his ability just to stay cool and calm. The bigger the moment came, I felt like this guy was arguably one of the coolest college basketball players, and just like, I don't think he ever tried. I never saw this guy go more than 75%, but his 75% was better than 99% of the top 1%. That was Khalid Reeves, number 3. So that's 4 guys. And then number 5, is that already 5? Are we at 4? That's 4?
I got one more.
I know I'm going to get all kinds of guff from all the Arizona basketball fans, but I got to give it to Miles Simon.
Oh, nice.
Miles' run in the NCAA, I still believe that we're the lowest seed to win a national title. I think we finished, that was when it was the Pac-10, I think we finished like 5th or 6th that year in the Pac-10, and nobody expected that. Miles' run in the 97 NCAA tournament was the Cinderella story. It was truly magical. I'll never forget the cover of Sports Illustrated said, "Simon Says Championship."
Right.
And, as a diehard Arizona fan, as a graduate from the University of Arizona, and as a sports fan in general, it's amazing to think about those core memories. And I remember exactly where it was. I was on spring break in Mexico with about, 200 of my closest friends. And, we were dancing on the bars and went and ran and jumped in the ocean. And, I can still remember that joy. I can still remember that euphoria. Man, that's the power of sports. It's more than just X's and O's. It's more than just about seasons. These teams and these players end up inspiring generations, which is pretty incredible, to be able to have that lasting impression in a positive way. It's very easy. We remember, I'm sure you know this, Neil, but the human memory, the human mind remembers negativity, something like 4 times more powerfully than it does positive. So when something's really positive and really powerful, for it to leave that lasting impression, it's got to be something just huge, something big. And that's what a national title was to this town.
How many of those 200 friends were named Jose when you were in Mexico?
I was there with my good friend Jose Machado, Joe Machado, when we call him here in Tucson. And, everybody just was a friend that night.
I think bartender Jose is what we're thinking as well. All right, Simon Says chip 6.
This one was
This is ghost pepper chip donut. Yeah. Here we go.
Okay. This one's going to suck.
Here we go.
I remember my bandmate Cameron Duddy was telling me he went on his honeymoon in Thailand, and they were at the Ritz-Carlton, the Four Seasons. And for some reason, it's their second night of their honeymoon, and they have this ghost pepper that's on the menu. The Thai chilies are also arguably maybe as hot as, or hotter than ours are. And he had to sign a waiver saying that if he perished, they wouldn't be liable. And he did it, and he got super sick, and they were pouring like milk on him. We're not going to need milk, are we?
Yeah, well, I hope.
Is that what the milk's for?
Milk, I think, is not what you want in a situation like this.
Okay.
Your mom might be.
Okay, so milk doesn't help?
And I don't think so. I think it does the exact opposite.
You're taking this like an absolute warrior, Neil.
Yeah.
Look at her face right now. Look at me.
Everybody's looking. Everybody,
Okay.
Midland has had to announce a postponement of its next show. Lead singer.
I've never canceled a show for physical reasons.
Yeah.
And no matter how sick I was, or how terrible my voice was, I always carried through the show.
As that settles under your tongue, tell me if you're given one shot to recruit a basketball player to Tucson and the University of Arizona, what's your pitch?
Culture, community, to be part of something that, like I said, to be part of creating something that is a lifelong core memory, and to truly leave an imprint on a community. You know, if you go to larger markets, I believe you live in a big city that has 3-4 major universities, a couple pro teams, you know, lots of big deals. In Tucson, the University of Arizona is, other than when Midland's in town, it's the biggest show in town, Arizona Athletics. You know, we come in the Conference of Champions, as our friend Bill Walton says all the time, and this truly is a school of champions. You know, you look at our Arizona softball team, you know, one of the most dominant softball programs in the country. You look at our baseball team, we've won the national title a ton of times. The golf program's amazing, the swim team's amazing. The football team is coming back. The Arizona basketball team has always been the calling card, if you will. And I think what Lute Olson built here in this town, no matter how good we are at something else, Tucson, Arizona is a basketball town. And just like when you go to Indiana or you go to Iowa, and basketball means just a little bit something else. Like if you go up to Toronto or you go up to Saskatchewan, and hockey means that thing. Tucson is a basketball town. Everybody loves it. It's in the water here. It's in the salsa. It's in the ghost peppers here. I think that it truly is an amazing place to come and create a legacy and to become a legend in this town, because this is a town that will never, ever forget you, and a community that will always have your back. And that's why I love Tucson. That's why I'm a proud graduate of the University of Arizona, and that's why I'm a continued huge supporter of Arizona athletics. And you know, I consider myself very lucky to get to be on the inside of watching the rebirth of the Arizona basketball program. And I think Tommy Lloyd is and has taken the torch from Lute, and he's carrying it to an even higher place. I mean, 61 wins in the first 2 seasons of Tommy Lloyd, the best in NCAA history, and those are teams that he hasn't even had a chance really to put together. And Tommy's really coming into his stride as a coach. And I just see Tommy getting better and better and getting more comfortable and really starting to see what this thing looks like. And I can't wait to see how big and how beautiful it's going to get, because Tommy's the man to lead us there. And I look at this team and going to the practices. I mean, these are some of the best players in the world. These guys are going to be going pro, and I think we're gonna have a run at this thing. And Tucson, Arizona, well, everybody will know that Tucson, Arizona is a basketball town.
How's the ghost pepper feeling right now? Are you ready to talk about your feelings, or are you good?
You know, so I was born and raised on a working cattle ranch on the Mexican border. I can actually see Mexico from my bedroom, and I've had hotter than this, I gotta say. This is, if you're from Tucson,
we knew you had a gig Friday.
Did you guys take it easy on me? I will say this one has a good kick.
Yeah.
This is my favorite
one.
This one
choked some of the players up.
It doesn't. It's okay. I'm not trying to be a tough guy, but if it comes to like tolerance, you know, I would say like I'm semi-pro.
Okay.
I'm not signing that contract to take ghost pepper. If you have a contract for me to sign to taste food, no, thank you. I'll pass on that.
All right, listen, the man's wearing a hat. Who's going to argue with him, huh?
It's getting a little sweaty in here.
All right, Mark, thanks for joining us. That wraps up another episode of Wildcats versus Mildcats. I want you to check out our Arizona Wildcat channel on YouTube. We've got all things Arizona basketball, Arizona athletics, and until then, salsa up.